The TaylorMade Tour Response Stripe is a fantastic ball for visibility and alignment, but as a mid-price point ball, does it actually perform, or is it just all about the aesthetics? So in this video, I'm going to be putting the TaylorMade Tour Response through its paces in my standard ball test. Now that's a 50-yard shot, and we're looking for launch and spin. Will this ball create the control we need around the greens? I'll then also hit 8 iron at my speed and also average golfer speed, and we'll be looking for the spin numbers of the ball and making sure that the ball is carrying the distance that we expect it to. And finally then we'll hit driver not only at my speed but also at average golfer speed, and we're looking for what the ball speed is like in comparison to the club head speed, and ultimately what our carry number is, and is this ball performing across the whole range of shots we're going to hit. Once we've done this, we'll have a look at the data that we've produced, and then we'll cut this ball open just to see what the construction of it is. I'll then put the tour response into Grahame's scorecard, and I'll give the ball a score across a various number of categories. Then finally, we're going to start the mid-price point ball ranking system, which is going to be the same as I've been using in my budget ball series, and if you've missed any of those videos, you can check them out up here. So as this is my first mid-price point ball test, I think it's important that we discuss the range that I'm working with here. Now in the UK, I'm now looking at golf balls that range from £30 a dozen up to £40 a dozen, and in US that's just under $40 a dozen up to just around $53 a dozen. Now this price point of golf balls I think is going to be very interesting. There's some really interesting and quite unique competition in this field, and I'm really looking forward to testing these golf balls. And if there's any mid-price point balls that fit into that price range that I've just mentioned that you would like me to test, then don't be afraid to just pop that down in the comments, and if I can get hold of the ball, I'll happily test it and bring that to you. Right, so let's get this stripy little ball outside, let's hit some shots, and let's start with our 50-yard pitch shots. Right, that was very interesting. So now let's hit some 8 iron shots, and I'm going to hit these at my normal speed, and then I'm also going to show you some shots at average golfer speed, and that's around about 75 miles an hour of club head speed. Right, so let's now put this ball to the ultimate test with driver, and I'm going to be hitting some shots at my normal speed, and I'm also then going to dial it back and I'm going to hit some golf shots at average golfer speed, and that's around 90 to 95 mile an hour of club head speed. Well, it was great fun hitting this golf ball, and I've got to say the first thing that I found was interesting was I was slightly concerned that I might be distracted by the stripe around this golf ball. I had this yellow one, but I also had one with a bright orange stripe, but to be fair, it didn't really affect me when I was looking down at the golf ball and certainly wasn't distracting. I also actually think this is a fantastic alignment aid for when you're on the putting green, and also I think for practice putting this could be a really good ball, because you'll be able to make sure and practice that you're actually hitting the ball well and rolling it end over end, because otherwise you'll see it wobble as it rolls along the putting surface. Additionally, I think I might also be tempted to test using this line on tee shots. So all in all, I actually consider the design on this golf ball to be quite good and very, very clever. Right, so let's now head straight over to the data. And first we're going to look at the 50-yard shots. Right, so let's pop that 50-yard data up on the screen here. And the first thing to take notice of is the spin was over 6,000 RPMs, and actually at 6,209, this is a really, really good performance, and it's a ball that would certainly give me the confidence to attack flags from this sort of distance, and that's a real massive positive. With a launch of just under 28 degrees, this ball's also coming out of a reasonable window for me, and it actually puts it in its performance significantly closer to a premium tour level ball than it does to its budget ball counterparts. Right, so let's get rid of that data and let's pop 8-iron up, and first off we're going to pop it up at my speed. Now if you've watched any of my other ball videos, you'll routinely know that I tend to find that most golf balls tend to carry approximately the same distance with these mid-iron 7 and 8 irons, but let's just check off the tour response just to make sure it's not doing anything unusual to every other golf ball I've tested. So first off, let's have a look at the spin number, and at just under 6,000 RPMs, this ball's performing pretty much where I expect it to. I'm quite a low spin iron player, and hitting off a mat also tends to knock some of the spin off. So generally, this ball's performed pretty much how I would expect it to. If we look at vertical launch, you can see it's up there at 19.6, but I would say that doesn't tell the whole story with this golf ball. When I've done my averages, that's where it's come out at, but I did see a number of shots that were launching at well over 20 degrees and getting close to 21 degrees. Now that is quite a high launch for a golf ball with an 8-iron, and combined with that spin, it does mean that the ball can get up there. Now I didn't see a massive drop in distance, but certainly if you're a high ball hitter at faster speeds, you may find that this ball has the potential to just float on you a little bit too much and maybe even steal some distance. However, as you can see, with a carry distance of 163.6 yards, this ball is just doing exactly what we expect and sitting firmly in that window that I've found that practically every golf ball I've tested just sits. Right, so let's get rid of that data and let's pop 8-iron up there at average golfer speed, and just to remind you, that's around about 75 miles an hour of club head speed. So if we have a look at spin, you can see that was at 5.6, 5.6. Now if we have a look at launch, you'll see that was about 20 degrees, and that's quite a nice number at this sort of club head speed. Now when I was looking at the footage that I took while I was hitting the shots, there was points where I was actually commenting within my recording at how well I felt this ball was performing with 8-iron shots while I was hitting them. With a carry distance of just over 127 yards, this ball actually was performing well for an average golfer's speed. Now the ball actually felt really, really nice when I was hitting it at this speed, whereas I would say when I was hitting it at my full natural speed, did feel the ball was a bit soft and squishy. But this ball has had a really, really good performance at average golfer speed with an 8-iron. Right, so let's now check out driver, and I'll pop the results at my speed up there for you. So with a club head speed of 107.5 miles an hour, that's firmly in my standard practicing range, that created a ball speed of 160.5 miles an hour. Now that's pretty good bang for your buck for a mid-price range golf ball with what appears to be a slightly softer compression. So anecdotally, while I was doing this test, I didn't feel that this ball felt like it was particularly fast. And when I came to looking at the numbers, I was actually quite surprised at what it created. Now, this is another reason why I insist on doing data-driven testing, because sometimes your feel and your eyes cannot be telling you 100% of the truth. So with a spin number of just under 2,600, yes, it's a little bit higher than I would like to see, but I'm certainly not putting this down to the golf ball. My spin numbers have been up that way for a few months now, and I think the way I'm delivering my club, I might have to look at club head and shaft, but again, certainly nothing to be concerned about regarding this ball. With a carry distance of 262.8, this ball is doing pretty well. It's not market leading, it's not super long, it's very comfortably in a position that I'm quite happy with considering the other numbers up on the board. Okay, so let's get rid of that data. And let's now pop the data up there for average golfer speed with driver. And just a reminder, that's a club head speed of around 90 to 95 miles an hour. With a club head speed of 93.2 and a ball speed of just over 137 miles an hour, this ball is doing a reasonable job of converting club head speed into ball speed. Spin was just under 2,500 and I quite like this number for this sort of club head speed. It helps to keep the ball up in the air and really helps to maximise your carry distance. So with a carry distance of 212 yards, I've got to say, I think this golf ball has performed very well for average golfers with both 8-iron and driver. Okay, that's the data done with, so now let's get this golf ball cut open. Now, as we look at this golf ball, I've got to say this has got one of the nicest colour combinations of any ball that I've cut open so far. Now, that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the performance, but it certainly makes it a lot more fun when I cut one of these balls open and initially see what the inside looks like. So as you can see, this ball is a three-piece construction with its dark green core, its slightly lighter green outer mantle, and this lovely thin urethane cover, meaning that it's much more closely aligned to a tour quality ball than it is to a budget ball. Right, so let's now cover off a few points before we put this ball into Grahame's scorecard and add it as our first entry in our mid-price point rankings. So we saw that this ball shares construction with some of the tour balls, but it certainly didn't feel like a tour ball. And the reason for that is compression. Now this ball has a compression rating of 70, which puts it in a very, very interesting area. So my feeling here is that TaylorMade have created a golf ball that's going to appeal to a wide range of golfers. Certainly it's going to appeal to golfers that are moving perhaps from a budget ball like the Speed Soft into one of these more mid-price range balls, and it would certainly be more manageable if you were moving from a very soft ball into a 70 compression golf ball than if, say, you were trying to move from the Speed Soft straight into TP5 or TP5X. So players who want a urethane covered golf ball but don't want to pay premium golf ball prices may also be drawn towards this golf ball, and because of its really funky alignment stripe, there will be people that might pick this ball against other balls in this mid-price point purely for that extra alignment aid. But what about my thoughts on its performance? Well, TaylorMade has produced a good golf ball that appeals to a really wide demographic of golfers here with the Tour Response. I especially think it's a good golf ball for average swing speed players, and if I fell in that category, this would certainly be a ball that I would be adding to my test list. For faster swing speed players though, although the data was quite good, I still feel this ball would be perhaps a little bit too soft for faster swing speed players, and I think with the competition in this mid-price point bracket, I think there are going to be some better balls coming for faster swing speed players. However, I will say if you're looking for a performance golf ball at just over £30 a dozen for either the stripe or the plain white golf ball, this golf ball is a really, really good value proposition, and I have to say well done to TaylorMade for producing a really, really good golf ball at what is a very, very reasonable price point. So the big question is, could I play this ball? And yeah, I really could play this ball. I still think it's a little bit too soft for me personally, but I think it's a really, really good performing golf ball. I also am really, really impressed with this stripe version. I tend to line up my putt using triple track on my Callaway Chrome Tour X, but I think this is probably at least as good, and I would feel very confident lining this ball up on the green. The only thing I would say is I would probably stick to this colourway, which is the white with the yellow stripe. I don't think I would want the higher contrast of the orange or the blue versions that you can buy. Right, so let's now pop a Grahame scorecard together for this golf ball. So first up, let's look at driver distance. And I'm going to give this ball an 8 out of 10. And I'm doing that because I actually think it's a really, really good ball for driver distance for average golfer swing speed. I don't think it's quite as good for faster swing speed players, but a very solid result, an 8 out of 10. For iron spin, I'm going to give this ball an 8 out of 10. The urethane cover is doing an awful lot of the hard work in creating really good performance on this golf ball with regards to spin. For short game control, I'm again giving this ball an 8 out of 10. It had a decent spin number and a good launch window, and therefore I think it would perform nicely out on the golf course on those scoring shots. Now, feel is a tricky one here for me, and I'm going to give this ball a 7. Now, I felt it was a little bit too soft for me personally on 50-yard shots, and also a little bit soft on 8-iron and driver, but I did think it felt really, really nice on 8-iron at average golfer speed. Now, if you're someone that prefers a soft golf ball, then I would certainly think that you would score this ball higher than a 7, but for me, it's a 7 out of 10 for feel. And finally, value for money. Now, in this mid-price point range of golf balls, I think competition is going to be exceptionally high here. But with this ball being available in the UK for around about £32 a dozen for a 3-piece urethane covered golf ball, this is just fantastic value for money, and therefore I'm giving this ball 9 out of 10. Right, so finally, let's now start up the mid-price point rankings. Now, with only one ball tested, the TaylorMade Tour Response sits firmly at the top. But make sure to stay tuned to this channel. As I say, I think this is probably the most competitive market out of all of the golf ball ranges, and it will be interesting to see how long the TaylorMade Tour Response stays at number 1. Well, that was a thoroughly interesting test of a thoroughly good golf ball. And if you thought this content provided value for you, then make sure to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I think this mid-price point testing is going to be really, really interesting going forward. And also, check out this video. I think you'll really enjoy it. I'm Grahame, and I'll catch you on the course soon.